Welcome CSE 235 to our ex11 exercise, and this will be an intro to Express, which is a web framework for Node.js. And again, you probably want to check out Learn Web Code, and you want to check out the first few minutes, probably the first 5 or 6 minutes of Learn Express in 48 minutes. Now again, you're not going to learn Express in 48 minutes, but it's a 48-minute video kind of starting out. We're going to follow some of it. And again, Brad does a nice job, especially in the first few minutes, of talking about server-side. So he really gives a nice explanation of server-side. And he's using VS Code and he's installing Express. Now I just want to show you that if we went to our ex10, this is when we were just using Node.js. Now we didn't use Express. Express is a web framework to use with Node.js. Now you could make a Node.js REPL and install it here. You could use the Node package manager and do something like npm install and then Express. And you could install it right from your shell. And we could do it like that. And it added 58 packages. Now, again, instead of doing that, what we're going to do is we're actually going to make a replit with Express already installed, and it'll already have a template. So we won't have to be doing some of this real basic code at the beginning. So let's do that first. So again, we're going to go back to our repels, and we're going to make a brand new one, and we're going to choose Express rather than Node.js. So we could just create a new repel and just type in Express. And for now, you'll see Express.js server. Just use Express.js to start instead of the server. So Express.js, the one with the EX here, we'll use that as the template. And just call it ex11. And you could just put Express intro, just like we've been doing with Flask intro and Node.js intro. So we're just going to do that to start. You could put your initials, and I'll create my repel. And what this will have is a template that'll get you started here, so you don't have to create this stuff. This is listening to the server port in here, and it'll tell you if it's initialized. And it'll also create a home page with a slash here, just like we were doing with Flask, from this variable. So we're going to import Express. We're going to make a variable app that represents that class, and then we're going to have an instance of Express that we're going to start creating pages. And we're going to have requests, and we're going to have responses. So right now, this is creating a home page already. So if you run this, just like before, we have to run the server. And there's the page that's being served right now. So if you open that up, you'll have your page. And again, it just says hello world. So we're going to do more with that. And we're going to create some templates, just like we were doing with Flask. So we're going to do that to start. And then eventually, we're going to be getting to some web server and database server content using MongoDB. So we're going to start with this first just to get a little bit of an introduction. So let's go here and let's just make this home so we know this is our home page. You could just put home page. And we'll actually copy this. And we'll make another one and we'll put /about, and then we'll make an about page. And we'll just put about us just to start creating these template type pages here. So we'll put about us. And again, request response. So we're using a response object here to send, and it's going to be about us. It'll send us to that directory. So we're going to stop this and run it. Remember, just like our Node.js, we're going to stop. We're going to run. And we don't have to open it up in a new page again. We could just go here and refresh it, and there's home page. And then if we go to the end of our URL and just put a /about, that should go to our about page, and it'll just say about us. So that's all we're doing to start. So there's 2 pages created. Okay, and just to review before we go any further, again, this is importing the Express package. Now, it was already installed because we created an Express replit. Now, on Node.js, we would have to install it first, but this is just pulling in the package that's already installed. And this is just creating a variable, an instance of the class. And that's why it's using app, and it's using these different methods in here. Now down here, this app listen, this is basically the port, and this is a callback function. And basically the callback function has a function inside an argument. That's why there's parentheses inside the second argument here is a function. Now this is that arrow function. Now this could be something like this. That's the arrow function. This could just be like that. It could just be a function inside there with the 2 curly braces running that. And that's basically just outputting to the console and saying that the server is initialized as long as it's working. So if we ran that again, it should do the same thing down here. So that's just the anonymous function. It doesn't really have a name. It's just doing it differently with those arrows. So instead of doing that, that's doing that arrow thing like that. Same thing. So if you see that, you just know what that is. But it's a callback function because it's inside, it's an argument, it's a function inside this listen function here. So it's one of the arguments in there. And I'll just run this again and make sure it's working. Make sure I put it back the way it was. So that's all we have is these 2 pages right now. Now, what Brad does to give an example of filling out information and getting it sent to a page is he goes in here, instead of home page, he puts a little form in here, and he uses it with a backtick in here. So you could use a backtick, which is under the tilde, which is this thing. So I'm going to get rid of that, and we have 2 backticks, and then he just put some HTML in here. So you could just hit return, and that way you could put in, I'll put this on this line here. That way you could go here before the end of the backtick. This is the end backtick here. He just puts an H1. Now we're going to change doing this. We're going to make templates, but for now he just does an H1 and does some question. So what are we learning? Or let's put, what framework are we learning? And we know that's Express. And we'll do that. He does is the sky blue or something like that. So we'll just do that for now. So that's our H1. And before the final backtick, we'll just put a form here. So we'll put form tags, and we have to write out HTML code, form, and we'll put action equals, and it's coming up right here, action equals. So let's do that, action equals, and we'll put double quotes in here, and we'll put where it's going to first. So we're just going to put /results and finish that off. And then there's method here, and you can see it's coming up with get. Now get actually takes the information and puts it in the URL. We could use method equals post, or we could start off with method get and just see how it works. So we'll use method get, and a lot of times you'll see it with capital letters in here. We're going to use post, so it's a little bit cleaner, but for now we could start off with that. So that's our opening form tag, and we'll have a closing form tag. And inside that form, after this top line here, we can indent, and then we can just use input, and it's coming up here for me, type equals text. So it'll just be a input field, type equals text. And we could give it a name, and it's coming up with framework because we're saying what framework. So that's fine. I'll just hit tab here, text name equals framework. So that will be our input. And then right after that, we'll put a submit button. Now, we don't need this here. We don't have to automatically close it. Input doesn't have a closing tag. So we'll just put a submit button. We'll make it button, and then we'll just put submit. Put submit answer, and it's coming up with a closing tag here. So I'll just hit tab, but you would just do the less than /button. So we'll just do that for right now. So what's going to happen is that's going to take us to our results page. Now, we don't have one yet, because we only have the home page and we have about. So let's do a results page, and I'll put it, I guess, after this, and we'll call it results. And it's using app.get because we're using get here. If we change this to post, we should change that to post. And right now, we're just going to have it say, thank you for answering. We'll just do that for now, just so we can just verify that it's working for now, so that it's going to there. So that should go to that page once we submit that form. And what we want to do here is stop, run it, and then we'll go back here, and let's see if this works. This is still in about, so let me backspace and go back to our home here. What framework are learning? I guess just say we. Let me go. I'd have to do it over again, but we know what we're saying here. So it's going to be Express. Now, it doesn't matter what you put in right now because we're not doing an if-else statement. And I have something wrong here. I have a quote here. Thanks for answering. It's still working, even though I messed up something. So it's working, and it's going to this page. Now, you can see with the get, it's putting results framework Express in here. And we'd want to hide that and just have that as a post request. So we could go back here. Let's change this to post. And then we have to change the result to post. And thanks for answering. I'll change that. And I had a quote up there by the button. Oh, there's an extra quote here by the button. And there shouldn't be one there. And this is our opening backtick, our closing backtick. And this is the parentheses, because remember, this second argument is this whole function here that's using arguments inside it. So there's this entire function that's inside a function. So it's another callback kind of situation that we have here. So we're going to change the way this is done, but just to try it out, that's what we're doing right now. So we're just taking the slow process that Brad's using here and just doing this. So let me stop it and start it again. And again, that would be going into shell and actually running the file, running index.js. But we don't have to do that, so we're just running and stopping. But we do have to go here and refresh it. And it says cannot get results because we're not using get anymore, and it's going to the results page. So let's go back to our home and just type in Express again and hit submit. And now it says thanks for answering. Okay, again, so if we answer in here and we submit, now it's just saying results. We're not seeing anything else in the URL. And if you go back for whatever reason, I just want to go back here, and if you manually put in a slash and say results, and you hit enter, you're going to get this, cannot get results. And this just means that you have to use post. We're using post now, and if you just get means we're just getting a request. We're just going to that page, and we're not submitting a form and using post. It will not let you do that. So even in here, even if you go down here, you can make another request, and I'll just copy this results here, and I'll make a second one, and I'll just put app.get. And this will be more of a static page. It won't be coming from the form. So if we just went here and put send, and I just put get info from results page, just to differentiate it from what we were doing before, and I'll stop this, and I'll run it, and I'll go back here, and I'll go to my home page again, and I'll just put something in here. Doesn't matter how I spell it. Thanks for answering. So it's going to results. But if I go back right now, and I go back here, and I manually type in results, this will be making a get request, because I'm not going through the form, if I spell it right. And now I'm getting this feedback, get info from results page. So I'm getting that information now with this request here. So we're using a get request here, and it's sending the information. So it's different than the post. So the post is more secure because it's going through the form, not just going there to see the results again. So I just want to point that out, and just as Brad points that out as well. And we'll stop here and pick up with the validation part in part 2.